Hey guys, David here. Welcome to Digital Outlook. In today's video, we're going to talk about the tokenomics of this entire digital asset space, and I'm going to show you how generational fortunes are going to be made. But before we do, if you'd hit that like and subscribe and tell your friends and family so we can get this information out to as many people as possible, that would be fantastic. So guys, without further ado, why don't we get to it? So something that I have been noticing lately quite a bit in this digital asset space on other folks' channels and even on my own channel are statements that come out and address this whole idea of tokenomics. And so oftentimes what you'll see is someone will come on there and they'll throw out a statement that says, well, this token can't reach those valuations because of the tokenomics. Or they'll come out and they'll say something like, well, what people don't really understand about this project is the tokenomics. So then you go back and you ask them and you say, well, hey, could you explain what you mean by tokenomics? And could you clearly show us exactly what you're seeing and saying so that we can fully understand what you mean? And then what do you get, guys? You get crickets. They don't come back. They don't say anything. Now, I really believe the reason for that is because those folks are just throwing out this catch-all statement, this phrase, without fully understanding what it truly means and what tokenomics actually is. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what tokenomics means, exactly what it is, and what the impacts of tokenomics have on this digital asset space, and that by you fully understanding it, how that can set you up to make a generational fortune. So what does the term tokenomics actually mean? Well, the term tokenomics is a catch-all phrase to describe the use and value of tokens in blockchain. Now, I'm going to use the term blockchain because although not all these distributed ledger technology platforms are blockchain, some of them are DAG, some of them are other consensus type algorithms, but I'm just going to use blockchain for now. So tokenomics is the use and value of those. Now, it also involves a definition regarding the creation, the distribution of the tokens, the circulating supply, the max supply. It also deals with burn rates and incentives. So, for instance, take staking. Staking is an incentive which is part of the tokenomics of various blockchain networks. And it also involves something that gets left out a majority of the time, and that is sentiment because of how it affects value. So let me give you another analogy so that you can kind of piece this together, glue it together. So in the world, obviously, we have various countries. Now, each one of those countries have their own sovereign currency. Now, with respect to their currency, they also have their own monetary policies for the currency and how the currency is valued against, other assets or, the world reserve currency, the US dollar, and the like. And those monetary policies are what would be comparable to tokenomics. So the blockchain would be comparable to the country, the token would be comparable to the sovereign currency of those countries, and the tokenomics would be comparable to the monetary policies of those countries. So that's another way to kind of grasp what tokenomics actually are. So let's take Cardano, for instance. Now, the circulating supply of Cardano right now is around, 33.8 billion, somewhere around there. And the total max supply is 45 billion tokens. Now, Cardano is a proof of stake blockchain. So that means you can purchase the native asset, ADA, and you can take that and you can join a stake pool and actually stake your ADA to earn a reward. Now, by earning a reward, what you're doing is you're strengthening the network of the proof of stake blockchain for Cardano. But at the same time, those stake pools validate transactions, and all the validations that they do positively add to the reward that is distributed among the participants of the various stake pool. Now, there's also penalties involved. If those stake pools come back and get incorrect validations, then there is a penalty to pay by the stake pool. And so So that is part of Cardano's tokenomics. Now, another thing about Cardano is they have an equalization type of distribution policy that they also employ. Another thing that they do is you can get rewards for participating in voting and voting blocks. Now, that is another way in which their tokenomics come into play. So that is an idea of a monetary policy or a tokenomics that affects a blockchain network, and in this case, like Cardano. So the next question comes down to, what are the big time implications with tokenomics in this digital asset space? So there are two factors about tokenomics that have massive implications in this entire distributed ledger technology space. And there are many more than two, but I'm just going to focus on these two. Now, the first one of those has got to be the inflationary component. So what I'm talking about there. So let's take, for instance, XRP, which is a consensus algorithm. And you look at XRP has what? 100 billion tokens maximum supply. That is the most they will ever have. Well, that is an anti-inflationary ecosystem. Why? Because there will never be any more. They're not going to be creating any more new tokens, and it's not going to have that possibility of overinflating. Now, Ethereum, when Ethereum first came out, it was an inflationary ecosystem in that other tokens could be created. Now that Ethereum has gone to proof of stake, they are also an anti-inflationary ecosystem with the burning of the burning of tokens when there's transactions, not necessarily the staked ones. But needless to say, that has huge impacts. Why? Well, think of it like this, guys. Here we have this fiat system, and the Federal Reserve can just print money at will, just print trillions and trillions and trillions. Well, if you're not the world reserve currency, and you're not backing it against anything, then slowly but surely what happens? The purchasing power of those dollars significantly diminish, and we have definitely seen that. Well, that would be the same in a blockchain type of ecosystem. Why? Because if you started out, let's say, with 100 billion tokens, and then you ended up having 200 billion tokens. Well, let's just imagine the market capitalization of that. So market capitalization, how that's figured out for those that don't know, you take the max supply of the token and you just multiply it at whatever it's trading at right now, and that'll give you the market capitalization for that various assets. So the total value of all tokens that are available. Now you just think, if you doubled that overnight, something like that, and you had this massive inflationary result, what would that do? More than likely it would drop the price by half, if not more than half. And so although there may be more tokens, they're not equal to the same value. And that's what it's like. It is a supply and demand issue, which is a massive component when it comes to tokenization, and tokenomics for that matter. So then the next one, what is the second major factor? Well, the second major factor is the one that gets overlooked the most, and especially by these folks that come on to these YouTube channels and leave comments that say, well, it can't get to those valuations because of the tokenomics. Well, guys, they are forgetting about the sentiment regarding these various assets, and they're forgetting about world money supply. So guys, what I have up here right now is a visualization of the total world money supply as of 2020. So now that it's 2022, as we look through this, bear that in mind, because of course it's going to be much greater considering all the money that has been printed from the C dump onward from 2020. Now, as we go through it, remember, each little square represents $100 billion, a staggering amount of money. All right, so here we go. So here's the silver market. Now, the silver market is about half of this square, so they're estimating it to be $50 to $75 billion. Now, as of 2020, here's the cryptocurrency. And this is just a little bigger than one square. So they're looking at this as being worth somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 500 billion. But actually now it's, I think as of today, 75, 76 billion dollars right in there. Now, military spending, well over $1 trillion globally for sure. Here's the U.S. budget deficit for the financial year end of 2020, way over $2 trillion right in there.
Now, all coins and banknotes globally. So obviously this is the US, this is the Euro area, this is others, would include Canada, Australia, that type of thing. Here's China, and here's Japan right in there. Now, all of these are over $1 trillion. Now, here's the Fed's balance sheet at that time, well into the multiple trillions. And from January 1st to 2020, this part here was just added then. And of course, now it's probably somewhere out here, considering it's 2022. So quite a significant amount. Now, global billionaires into the multiple trillions right in there. Gold. Here's all gold. Okay, this is in jewelry, this is in bullion, this is below ground reserves into the multiple trillions. Now, the Fortune 500, now they highlight 5 of the most well-known. So you got Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, of course, Google in there, Facebook, and all the rest. And you can see multiple trillions of dollars in the Fortune 500. Now, stock markets. So here we have the New York Stock Exchange, and we got a significant trillions of dollars in the New York Stock Exchange. In the NASDAQ, of course, multiple trillions and multiple trillions in all other exchanges. So that would be, all the exchanges around the world in China, Japan, Canada, Australia, UK, all the rest. And they're estimating that to be at somewhere in the neighborhood of $89.5 trillion. Now, these are staggering amounts, guys, but that's what the estimated value is. Now, this is the money supply. Now, this is the narrow money supply up in here, and this is the broad money supply. So the total value of the world's easily accessible money is 35.2 trillion. This includes the world's coins, banknotes, checking deposits, and only 7% of that is physical, and 93% is non-physical. And the broad money supply, $95.7 trillion. Unbelievable. Now, global debt, this is crazy. So this is household, this first one up here, and you can see it's in the multiple trillions. And then government debt over here. And then down here, we got non-financial corporate debt and financial sector debt. Now, they're estimating $253 trillion, which is 322% of the global GDP as debt. Now we go down here to real estate. And here you see like huge amounts of real estate, which they estimate all the world's real estate is an estimated to be worth $280.6 trillion. Something to take note of up here, guys, is this. If this is 253 trillion of global debt, and this is 280, it would take almost all the real estate in the world to pay off basically the debt, which is really staggering when you think about it. So here they break it down, $220 trillion in residential, $33 trillion in commercial, and $27 trillion in agriculture. Now, global wealth. So this is all the global wealth all over the world with the various nations. And here you have North America. They're saying it's 31.8% of the global wealth. And according to Credit Suisse, all global wealth tallies to $360.6 trillion. And there's Europe right up and in here. We have Asia Pacific, which China, India, China specifically, India there, Latin America, and then Africa. And so, like I say, they estimate that to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 360.6 trillion. So staggering amount of money. Now, this is really wild. This is derivatives. Now, the gross market value is 11.6 trillion. The notional value, the low end estimate, is 558.5 trillion. And they're saying here, so what is a derivative? A derivative is a contract between two or more parties that derives its value from the performance of an underlying asset, index, or entity. And if you've ever watched The Big Short, you get a kind of a more clearer picture of what it truly is. So we go down and we just take a look at all of that. Man, that is just ridiculous. Now, here's the notional high-end value estimate, 1 quadrillion in derivatives. This is unbelievable, just crazy amount of money. But it is a fantastic visualization of the world money supply. Now, I want to go back up here and I want to ask you a question. What do you think it would take? And what do you think would happen when maybe just a few of these squares, go from here into here? Because, guys, we know that this digital system, the monetary system especially, and then, of course, all the other networks that we use, our health information, our real estate, all of our personal data, educational information, everything is transitioning into this distributed ledger technology ecosystems, and the world is moving truly into this digital space. Ask yourself, do you think that there's room for growth here? Really? When you consider all this world money supply, how much would it really take to 10x this? Not too much. How about 100x? Still not that much. How about 1000x? Really? Not that much. Do you realize some of these digital assets are being eyed to actually consume the entire global debt market right here? And Hedera Hashgraph, by the way, is one of those, along with the XRP ledger, to take on and tokenize global debt. Do you also realize that all of the stock markets around the world will be tokenized? Just imagine this, just this right here, moving over and coming into right here. What would that do to this space, guys? Where will your valuations be then? How would sentiment be affected? And now blend that into the whole concept and idea of tokenomics and the tokenization of everything. It will give you a new perspective.
So in view of that visualization of the world money supply, where each square is valued at $100 billion, and remember this, that was back in 2020, and now that it's 2022, those valuations have increased. Let's now take a look at some of these ecosystems and tokens that get a lot of flack from these folks that come out and say, hey, it could never reach those figures because of the tokenomics. Okay, a couple of them that come to mind straight off are Hedera Hashgraph and XLM. Both Hedera Hashgraph and XLM have maximum token supply of 50 billion tokens. All right, so let's say we're looking at a valuation of $5. What would it take in terms of 50 billion tokens valued at $5? It would take $250 billion to get there. Now, in view of that world money supply, do you honestly think that Hedera Hashgraph and XLM cannot reach those $250 billion valuations? Well, I think they certainly can. And beyond that, what about a $10 valuation? Well, you're talking about $1 trillion each. When you think of how fundamentally this space, this digital asset space, is going to completely revolutionize everything that we do, and that the tokenization of debt alone and the impacts that that's going to have, along with the derivative market, which is in the quadrillions, I have no doubt that we are going to see some of these assets not only in the 1 trillions, but in the multi-trillions. You take an asset like XRP. Now, XRP, a lot of folks are saying, hey, eventually it's going to get to about $100. Well, what would that be? You're looking at a $10 trillion market cap. You don't think that XRP could hit a $10 trillion market cap? I mean, the whole entire stock market is what, 89 trillion? And then you've got the multiple trillions in all of these other various areas, broad money supply and everything else. Guys, you need to understand this space and what the future holds. And so when these folks come on and they leave these statements, oh, it could never reach that because of the tokenomics. Number one, they're either being intentionally disingenuous and spreading fear, uncertainty, and doubt, FUD, or they absolutely don't know what they're talking about. Because when it comes to the tokenomics of this space, sentiment is key. In fact, in most markets around the globe, doesn't matter what market it is. Yes, fundamental analysis has a play, but I'll tell you what, sentiment is the biggest driver. One example of that, Federal Reserve comes out and they start saying, hey, they're going to raise the interest rates by 25 basis points. Before the speech is done, the market's reacting. That's sentiment right there. And this space, this digital asset space, the biggest driver of the space right now is sentiment. 98% of your price action is all based on sentiment. There will come a day when utility is going to be the greatest driver, and I think that day is coming very, very soon, but it is not yet. But when it does, you think about it. You're going to see all that world money supply just pile in to all these various digital assets as the world is completely transformed in its monetary system, in its data and record keeping, in its authenticity of ownership, in the logistics and transport of goods, in every facet of our entire global economy and infrastructure is going to be transformed by this digital revolution, and we are so early in it. Now guys, this is the video I have for you, and I truly hope that you enjoyed it. Now, if there's something I said that you disagree with, you drop that down in the comments right there. And if there's something I left out that you think should be mentioned about this tokenomics, you drop that down in there too, and we can have a discussion. So guys, before you go, just take a quick look at this absolutely gorgeous little park out here in McKinney, Texas. They have this amazing little pond here with a walkway that goes all the way around it, and they have these old-time lampposts that actually make it quite charming. It is really quite nice. Well guys, as you know, I'm not a financial advisor, and this isn't financial advice, but if you found value in it, if you'd hit that like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. And don't forget to hit that notification bell down there so that you don't miss out on any of the videos that we're uploading. And if you're one of the thousands of people that have been watching these videos but haven't yet subscribed, would you do the channel a favor and join this community? We would really love to have you on board. So, in the meantime, and in between time, stay safe, be blessed, and I'll catch you in the next one.